Welcome back. Today we're going to continue our series on how to repair Wedgwood Jasper ware. And if you've been collecting Wedgwood for any period of time, you know what this is. It's a biscuit barrel. You probably have dozens of them sitting on your shelf. Well, one of the biggest problems with them is this mounted wear at the top. Is over time, the plaster of Paris that holds it in place gets all dried out and brittle and cracked, and a lot of times these lids come off. Now this is one that I've already repaired, and as you can see, it has a nice result, nice clean line all around the top. It's a little off over here, but that again is a function of the clay when it fires not being exactly perfect. But it worked out really good to repair the way I'm about to show you. Now I got the idea on how to repair these and what it was made out of actually from this book here. The actual title's down here, Monographs in Wedgwood Studies number 1 and 2. It's from the Buten Museum, and the part we're going to look at is Wedgwood Bas-Relief Ware. And I'll go back here where I have it marked, and you can see way down here at the bottom, I will turn it around so I can read it. And it says basically the very last line talks about the ceramic pieces were made with molded lines at the top, referred to as roughing up, to aid in the attachment of the metal collars. The metal was actually stuck on with plaster of Paris. So that's what we're going to use today to fix our piece. But first, before we do that, I'll show what they meant by roughing up. You see here at the top, very, very thin lines along the top where the plaster will adhere to, and at the bottom where we're going to repair it, it's a little bit wider lines, but again for the same purpose there of holding on to the metal piece that's going to go on to the bottom. So we'll set that to the side. Once your pieces come off, now the question is let's say you have a piece that's really kind of loose and you're afraid somebody's going to pick the piece up by its handle, and somebody just comes along and grabs a hold of it like this, and wow, the bottom goes flying off, and you just like, well, okay, that's not safe, but it's not completely detached. How are you going to get it off? Well, first thing you're going to want to do is to soak it for probably, could be a couple of days, couple of hours, couple of weeks, who knows, in water. Now, go back to some of my previous videos and articles that I've written on this and check out what my method is for soaking items, and just be really careful again, because if the item is cracked or damaged in any way, it could become completely ruined if you soak it in water. So in a lot of cases you don't want to soak the pieces. But once you get your piece off, you're going to see down in this crack down here, you're going to see this. This is the plaster of Paris, and it'll be jammed down into the crack. And what you have to do is very carefully take a very sharp little screwdriver and just wiggle it in there just a little bit, and just kind of crunch, and eventually you're just going to break up the plaster enough that you can kind of get underneath, and again very, very gently, because this metal will bend very easily. You just got to get in there and just kind of slowly work it, and eventually you'll be able to get all of the plaster out. Give it a good scrubbing, clean it up with some silver cleaner, and you're ready to go as far as being able to put it back onto your piece of jasper. So we'll set that to the side for now, because next thing we have to do is to mix up the plaster of Paris. And again, I just got this over at a hobby store, but you can also get this at your local home center. And again, it's plaster of Paris, and make sure you use this. Don't use joint compound or anything else, because it's a different chemical in the joint compound, and frankly I have no idea how it might possibly react with the jasper. So just to use plaster of Paris. And what it says on the instructions to do is to mix 1 part cold water between 40 and 50 degrees and 2 parts of the plaster. And as you see, I just do this here in a milk jug, and we're just going to mix and mix and mix for a while. Probably have to cut away a little time delay. But what you're going to find is that as you mix this up, it's going to become basically like milk, which is going to be way, way, way too soupy. So we'll just keep mixing here. I'm going to make sure you can see this on the camera. Make sure you get all the lumps out. Now this here is 2 to 1. We've got all the lumps out, but you're going to see it's, well, most of the lumps are out. That's okay, because we're going to put in some more of the plaster because that's way too thin for what we need. So we'll just grab a little more, put it in there, and just mix some more. And you just want to keep adding the plaster and mixing until you get the consistency of like a thick cake batter. I'm sorry, not a cake batter, a cake frosting. We're still not quite there yet. That hopefully will be enough. Kind of scrape down the sides as you go. Now this stuff sets up really fast, so once we get it to the consistency we want, we've got maybe 5 minutes to get it in place. I'm going to try to do both the top and the bottom mountings both in one sitting. I'm doing this on my back patio. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's going to be 110 degrees today, so it's already probably pushing 100, so this is going to want to set up real fast. So let's see. Yeah, that looks good. I mean, it's probably not quite as thick as I normally would do, but because it's so hot out here today, I'm going to leave it a little bit thin. So let's set that to the side, and what we want to do is get a towel out just to help protect the piece a little bit. And we need to do the bottom first. And all we're going to do is take the plaster, scoop some out, and just put it in along the edge. Yes, it's going to get everywhere, and it's going to squeeze out once we put that top part on. And that's okay because it's going to clean up real nice. I'm sure when they put this on at the factory they probably had a nice little squeeze bag or something. I guess you could use a pastry bag if you wanted to squeeze this in here, because I'm getting it all over my hand now. But okay, so we're good to go there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this upside down. Let me get it into view so you can see it. And you want to make sure you line up your metal so it makes sense versus, so it lines up sort of with the reliefs on your piece. So we're just going to, but the bottom it's not going to matter quite so much. So as you put it on, you can see it's going to squish out all over the place. So you want to have standing by a bunch of paper towels and also a wet rag. So first thing you want to do is get in here with the paper towel and just go around the edge and just get out all that excess. And like I said, it's going to get all over the place, but by the time we're done, it'll get cleaned up. And I probably put in way too much. Well, I'm making really a mess here today. I guess it's because I left it a little too soupy. It's important to get it all cleaned up out of the bottom as quickly as possible. The rest of it you can much more easily just wash off with a wet rag once you're done. Alright, when I do the top, I'll try not to put quite so much on. And you can see it's starting to harden up already. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to take the wet rag and really get in here and clean it up. Let's push that to the side so we can roll it over. Because you want to make sure you get it good and clean along the edge. And you get a little schmutz on there, that's fine. On the outside, again, that'll wash off. But what we're going to do is we're going to stop fussing with this because we're good to go there, and we want to move on to get the top in place before the plaster I have made sets up. So we're going to do the exact same thing. See, it's already gotten much thicker in the bucket. Okay, there we go. Now here's where it's really important to make sure you line things up. And there's a tree on either side, so what I want to do is I want to put the stems where that's going to go, where the bale goes in, and we will put that, we'll line that up right over the top of the trees. Alright, we're good to go. Press down. Okay, that's good. We'll grab some more paper towels. And we will get right underneath there and clean up all that mess. See, it's already getting pretty hard, and so it's actually making it come off a little easier. So when you do this, if you have just one piece to get fixed, or if it's not terribly hot out where you're operating, make sure you make your plaster just a little bit thicker. As you can see here, it's cleaning up much easier because it wasn't so wet. Turn it on its side so we can get down inside of there. And just get under there and just get out all that excess, because it's not doing any good being in there, and all it's going to do is stick to the side. Okay, now let's hit the outside before it gets too hard. Okay, that's good. And let's take our wet rag to it. Alright, so that outside's cleaning up nicely. Get it off the rim. And there's the end result. So we just need to come in and clean the silver a little bit more, put a coat of wax on here. Again, I've talked about all that in other videos, and this thing will be beautiful, ready to put on the shelf or sell or whatever you want to do with it. So hope you learned something here today. And again, check us out at greedylobster.com, where we have all of the videos and all of the articles about how to repair your Jasper ware. Thank you very much.